I'm here today with another Beyond Skyrim video because I love Beyond Skyrim. The idea of it has always fascinated me since since we read the news article that you can see the Imperial City White Gold Tower from Markarth's Mountains, and that probably was what sparked this project. But Cyrodiil is their first project from Beyond Skyrim. Now, firstly, obviously everyone knows here what the hell's going on, but Beyond Skyrim is a project which aims to bring Tamriel to Skyrim's world, to the timeline of Skyrim. So you can head south, leave Skyrim, head into Cyrodiil, go east, head into Morrowind, go west, head into Hammerfell, and get a couple other islands like Roska and the ancient homeland Altmora of the Nords. It's a very, very massive project, and the people doing this are honestly some of there's not enough good words for them when it comes down to it. The level of crazy these guys are doing is nuts. They're making Tamriel free, and it's all built from passion. As you can see, we're in Cyrodiil looking through all the different kinds of places they've completed. Cyrodiil was their first project, and they've already released a pre-release which you can download from Skyrim Nexus. I think it's SE Nexus, I'm not too sure about... No, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's SE Nexus. Bruma, which is the northern part of Cyrodiil, which is pretty much the landmass. As soon as you leave Skyrim, you will venture into Bruma, and that's what's accessible right now as their pre-release. But when they do release this mod, it's going to be full Cyrodiil, and then there'll be other teams working on the other provinces, like the New North, which is Morrowind, elsewhere, Valenwood, Three Kingdoms, which is High Rock and Hammerfell, and wherever the hell the orcs are. As you can see, there's pre-releases there. If you haven't done it, go check it out 100%. This shit's better than what Bethesda made. And that's not a pull at Bethesda, it's because Bethesda's on a timesheet, they're on a goddamn budget, and they gotta get it out by a certain time. And these guys don't. So they can really put that 100% passion and effort into it without the worry of a suit breathing down their neck. This is made by pure and absolute passion, and this is why these guys are the fucking goats when it comes to any sort of modding project out there. And I want to say that. I've been banned from their Discord twice, but I still like them. I deserved the second one. The first one was for pulling jokes. It was elsewhere jokes. I said I'd take my jokes elsewhere, and the admin made sure I did. But there's Martin Septim. So sorry, I just had to pause that for a quick second. This is a project that I've been waiting for since 2012. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to pause the right time. My god. Cyrodiil is it's the heartland of Empire. It's in the middle of Tamriel. And my first game was Oblivion when it comes to the Elder Scrolls. So this is what introduced me to the fantasy world of the Elder Scrolls. That was 200 years before the current events of what Beyond Skyrim is doing, and it's so awesome because I don't know, man. The new lands is always interesting. It's always a new place to explore. But if the next Elder Scrolls game was based back in Cyrodiil, I would hands down, I'd eat that shit up straight away. If it was made out of a broccoli cake, I'd eat it, and I absolutely hate broccoli. Because I'd love to go back and explore the land that I was once in, see the events that folded after I'd left, and all that sort of things, right? You get to learn what happened after you left. See the events, see the things that happened, like the Oblivion gates that you closed as in Oblivion, and then not just that history that you left a mark of, but also the recent history, the Great War in Cyrodiil, and things like that. Those are the sort of things that's so awesome to come across in a mod like Beyond Skyrim, and this is why this is my most anticipated mod. I've been waiting for it for a long time, as everyone has. But these things don't happen overnight, or over a year. Everyone working on this project isn't being paid to do so. They're doing it out of the love for, modding out of the love for the Elder Scrolls. It's pure passion. It's not because, and there's something, most of these guys will no doubt have it, that they want to probably get a job at Bethesda. And this is a damn well good way of getting it. Or showing that you can definitely put in and, join a major game development team in the future, even if it's not Bethesda. But it's crazy to see what they've done, and honestly, these guys are, this is the biggest modding project. I love Sky Oblivion because it's going to be Oblivion, but in Skyrim's sort of, atmosphere, I guess you could say. It's going to be Skyrim's graphics. Skyrim is an old game. It's not like a modern, but it's still modern because there's nothing else after it. But Beyond Skyrim is an entirely different beast. because they're going to do all Tamriel. There's multiple different teams under one umbrella, but Cyrodiil is the one, like I said, I'm most excited for, because this one's a lot bigger than Sky Oblivion, because Sky Oblivion, it's definitely hard work, don't get me wrong, I'm not shitting on these guys at all, but they got to remake the game. The quests are there, everything's there for them to remake, right? But when it comes to the Beyond Skyrim team, they have to remake the world, add a shit ton of new characters, everything has to be brand new. Everything. Quest, people, the world, the lore, none of it's there for them to basically have it. They don't have a plan for what they have to make it, pretty much. That's definitely not a dig at Sky Oblivion's team, because they have a tremendous amount of work ahead, and if their project's coming out, that probably means we're a couple of years off Beyond Skyrim, because they have to write a lot of their own shit Beyond Skyrim. But again, Cyrodiil is a project that's really close to my heart, because it's my first, like I said, it's my first dabble into the Elder Scrolls. They've got two main quests, right? So the two main quests is like Skyrim's main quest. Skyrim's got two main quests. You've got Skyrim as the country's main quest, which is Civil War. And then you've got Skyrim, the game's main quest, which is the dragons. So you've got two of those. You've got one that's based on Skyrim, the events happening in Skyrim, and the big bad that threatens all of Skyrim. So you've got two of those in Cyrodiil. The political quest for Cyrodiil, for what's going on in Cyrodiil, is the Sundered Kings. You basically side with whoever you want to become emperor. I don't know how they're going to deal with that, especially if the next game comes out and it's recent history. I don't know. Like, they obviously love Elder Scrolls and they're making their own content, but it's very risky for them, because they could spend they've spent 12 years making the story for Bethesda just flushed in the dunny, when if it comes out and there's a new emperor with a different name, different story, it just shits all over their story. But they know the risk. They're doing that. That's the political side for Cyrodiil itself, but there's another quest, I don't remember what it's called, but it involves an Ayleid king that's resurrecting, he's dead, he's resurrecting the hordes of Daedra, probably Daedra, and of course Ayleid undead to take back Cyrodiil from the humans. That involves the Knights of the Nine, so you'll no doubt find the Knights of the Nine relics and wear the armour of the very man that killed this king thousands of years ago and put him back in the ground and stop his threat from destroying all of Cyrodiil. Hopefully though there's a cool little spin to it, because in Oblivion you've got to be the Knights of the Nine, when the Nine Divides were actively worshipped. But in this one you might have the choice to keep it as the Knights of the Nine if you play a Nordic character or play someone that believes in Talos, had that role playability where you could still make it the Knights of the Nine, but you become a bit like the Blades. You become secretive and kind of in the shadows and appearing to save the world when you're needed. Or you could follow the lore and go, alright, we'll reinstitute, I found the relics, I found the Knights, we'll become the Knights of the Eight. It'll be a very unique spin on it. And of course they go into this entire thing saying some crazy awesome shit that just excites me beyond words, but we'll get into that. Now, a little spin before we get into that, I want to talk about the stuff that I do in Skyrim. I play multiple different playable characters in the one world. So it's not longer just the one Dragonborn that does the Civil War, that does the guild quest and then the main quest, all that. It's spread out through all different characters from all different walks of life, and stuff like that. So my Dragonborn, she joins the Bard's College as a young woman, and then the vampires come along, she joins the Dawnguard, and then the dragons come along and she's thrown into the mix of now becoming the Dragonborn. But the rest of Skyrim's content is done by other characters. Now, again, this is just the first draft of it that I'm doing on YouTube currently, and I'll imagine a second draft where Beyond Skyrim is released, and I'm playing a brand new character, one original to Cyrodiil, an Imperial maybe. There's probably 30 or so. It kind of mirrors my Cyrodiil character, the Holy Crusader, in a retrospect to where he finds his relics and becomes the new commander, the new Holy Crusader, and the new leader of the Knights of the Eight, or the Knights of the Nine. And this happens in the year 198, quite a few years before Skyrim's events kick off. And then he's just doing his duties for a couple of years, killing the undead and killing the Daedra and being the Holy Crusader, the hero figure of Cyrodiil. And then the dragons return, and the Dragonborn calls out for aid for anyone that's willing to help her. And who comes marching by? The Holy Crusader. So I'll start the early chapters are like a prequels, like Cecilia's chapter, which will always be the first one, and then the Holy Crusader's chapter, and maybe another hero in Cyrodiil, and then eventually these characters, in the stories to come down the line, will eventually find their way from Cyrodiil all the way go into Skyrim and become companion to the Dragonborn. But whatever, that's just my personal take, and I love to kind of split stories to where I can play them as multiple different people. So I'm pretty sure you can play this game, you can play this without being recognised as a Dragonborn. I think they've said that, where it's like, people have talked about, what if we play someone that's not a Dragonborn, and they've said, yes, you can play someone that isn't recognised as a Dragonborn, which is nice. So it might be like all on dialogue things, like you could walk up to the gate when you leave Cyrodiil, you leave Skyrim, and you go, I'm the Dragonborn, and they go, holy crap, well, we'll let you through. And then it might then cause people to call you the Dragonborn, or refer to you as whatever the hell you called yourself at the gate of Skyrim. It could be the Harbinger, it could be the Archmage. I'm not too sure the Thieves Guild will be let in. I'm pretty sure the Assassins that just killed Emperor won't be let in, or the Stormcloaks. But let's get into this kind of thing. It's awesome sort of stuff they talk about, and it's amazing. Now this is the west of Cyrodiil, called Colovia. I think it holds a... look, honestly, I don't know which one's which, because I haven't played Oblivion in a long time. So there's a southern city, I think there is. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but there's a southern city down the bottom of the... and that might be Skingrad. Might be. Could be Kvatch. I think the top one might be Chorrol. I don't know. I've lost my locations for cities. I definitely know the bottom eastern one is Anvil in the Gold Coast. That's a memorable one I'll never forget. But this is Colovia, so it's a warm environment, and what they say next is nuts, absolutely bonkers, because they mention there's going to be 50 settlements, dude. 50! Like, are you nuts, man? Like, 50 settlements? I'm not even sure Skyrim has 50 settlements. That also plays into the part where Skyrim, I've said this in multiple videos, Skyrim was released way too early. A few years, I dare say, because you can see the 9 holds of Skyrim is really 5 holds of Skyrim and 4 villages. And all these holds are like, you know, like Whiterun, for example. I think it's got like, what, 2 or 3 settlements? I think one of their settlements is actually in the Pale, because Laurelius's farm has a Pale guard instead of a Whiterun guard, and it's on the border, so it might even be a Pale settlement. And then you've got Rorikstead, which is a farming settlement, and then you've got Riverwood, which is a lumber mill settlement. So you've got like only 2 settlements in the whole of Whiterun, and that's the heart. That's the warmest. That's probably the warmest and the nicest place in all of Skyrim. Like Cyrodiil is the middle. It's the heart of Tamriel. And 50 settlements, dude, in Colovia itself. I mean, it kind of like brings to the point that more humans are going to flock to warmer environments. That's probably why Skyrim's so barren when it comes to people, because again, more people are going to flock to warmer environments. This is the way as humans we want to go to a warmer environment. We don't want to be cold all the time. We want to be... We don't want to be cold at all. My bad. But I prefer the cold, actually, but not the snow kind. But yeah, 50 settlements, man. Holy shit. There's going to be like farming settlements, lumber mills, mining settlements, all over the goddamn place. Inns. I think Such is down there. I think that might be Such. I think Such is in the Anvil territory. And I think Anvil's down the bottom, as you can see, on the very border. And then up on the mountain, looks like a little encampment. Looks like Such, which is what they've remade in, well, they made it better, because in Oblivion it was just a little ruin, which was meant to be a city, but it was cut content. So, 50 settlements, man, like, that's nuts. That's crazy. I mean, like, the roads are never going to get boring, probably. Like, this is what I love about Beyond Skyrim. It's made by Complete Passion, so they can add whatever the hell they want in there. Right, they can fill the roads of new settlements, re-establish old ones, maybe have a couple old ones that were destroyed in the Great War, or that were destroyed in band attacks, or that are completely gone and removed, and brand new ones that we never saw before, because it's been 200 years since the last time we were in Cyrodiil. So this is amazing. Maybe they might even add modded ones, like ones that were added in the Oblivion modding scene, which went off really well, and they might add them into that area and give them, keep the name and make it look similar. Maybe, who knows? But again, 50 fucking settlements, man. I'm not even sure Skyrim itself has 50 settlements, because it's a very barren, when it comes to life. When you leave settlements, there's like 1 or 2 in a hold, except Winterhold, which has no settlements whatsoever, unless there's a mine on the way to Winterhold, which is run by one dude. Like, it's nuts. There's a fucking gold mine in Markarth that has 2 dudes operating it and 1 guard, which is a joke since it's the only gold mine in Skyrim. Now, they show off the rest of it. 81 dungeons, dude. Tombs. Tombs, bloody alien ruins, caves, mines, all that sort of stuff. Right, so there's just the dungeons. 2,000, almost 3,000 cells. That's nuts, man. And 140 quests. Most likely including main quest and guild quests and stuff like that. That's freaking nuts. Does Skyrim have that many quests? Like actual playable quests? Like, I played that game for 13 years and it just doesn't feel like it does. It feels like you complete Skyrim's main quests, guild quests and Civil War quests in the space of a day. If you fast travel. But, holy moly. Dude, that is a shit ton. And that's just for the western part. The western part of Cyrodiil, which connects to Hammerfell. You can still see the sort of Geralt mountains in the top where it'd be cold. I don't understand that one bit. Like, how does that work when it comes to like geography? Like, you've got a cold, frozen mountain, and then it goes south, and then it becomes a warm, hot, rugged climate. Like, I don't understand that. Like, how does that work? Like, cold, very cold, snow. Very hot, desert sands. I don't know how that one works. But, again, it is a fantasy game. But this is just the western part, man. You've got southern Cyrodiil right here. You've got the Bruma, which is available for download, of course. You've got the eastern northern part, and you get the southern part, like proper. Like, it's crazy, man, how big this map's going to be, and this is why it's taking so goddamn long. Now, I think Skingrad was actually the bottom city that I was talking about because it's pretty much on the border to, I think, Elsewhere or Valenwood. I think Valenwood. And as you can see, there's quite a few Khajiit. I mean, in Skyrim, there's like probably less than 12 named Khajiit, unless of course they're the caravanners, right? But in cities or anything like that, there's little to none of them. I mean, there's one in Solitude, but you never see him because he runs the lighthouse. There's one in the college, which is probably the most known Khajiit out of all the game. But other than that, you don't see many Khajiit in Skyrim because it's a cold climate and they're a warm people. They have fur and stuff like that, and they live in the tropics. They live in the most southern part of Tamriel, the warmest part, where, well, probably wouldn't say the warmest part, but tropical, tropicalness and deserts and jungles and stuff like that. Warm climate. And going far north into the snow would be a complete and utter reverse of what their lives would be like, so that's probably why you find not many of them. But in Cyrodiil we're going to see a lot more. Now, again, I remember them talking about Skingrad. It's very political. It's very American in a certain way. It's the wine that you drink and the faction you support. So if you drink, like, there's two wineries. There's Cyrodiil Brothers, and there's another one. I think it might be called Cyrodiil Imports. I don't remember what the secondary wine company was, but you were hated depending on what wine you drank. Like, it was like very territorial. It's like a fucking English football team. I call it soccer. Americans call it soccer. But it was one of the, like, if you went for the opposite team, man, you are a dog. If you drank a certain wine that wasn't the wine they liked, you were not their friend at all. You were the fucking enemy. Also very political, that you've got quite a few Dominion synthesizers on this side of Skingrad. And they're not just the elves or the Khajiit, but quite a few of them will be Imperials that might think that the elves should be running Cyrodiil. That believe their cause, maybe because they're they're really close to the Dominion border, or just because they don't think, maybe because the Empire's gone through some absolute shit-kicking in the last 200 years and haven't shown their strength, and they've been losing their power and losing the trust of the people of Cyrodiil. They might believe the Dominion is the rightful rulers of Tamriel. But that's the two kind of things of Skingrad. It's the wine you drink, and it's either you serve the diamond or you serve the eagle. So it's going to be very political in a sense where it's like you got two different sides of Cyrodiil. Sorry, it's not Cyrodiil, Skingrad. Bloody hell. Speaking of wines you drink, you're probably going to have two different inns on each side of Skingrad. One where it says like the Silly Brothers wine, the other one that serves a competitor's wine. But I want to talk about the guards here, right? They look, like, out of all the guards in Cyrodiil, these ones look the beefiest. And it was the same thing with Oblivion, if you never played that game. All the guards in Oblivion were the exact same armor, but they had different tabards, and the tabards are the coats that go over their arm with the county symbol on it. The Skingrad guards are very different. And I don't know, because I played on the PlayStation. For some reason, every guard, I don't know if it was like the early version I got or whatever, but every guard had a silver sword. And I always chalked it up to that they were fighting the armies of the Daedra, so they could afford to have silver swords to fight off the Daedra, since they're weak to it or some shit. But I think they're weak to it. But the Skingrad guards are very different. Like, they had better gear. So every other guard in Cyrodiil, apart from the Legion, of course, I think they wear like iron armor. Probably the most, like, yeah, whatever. Every other guard had like chainmail boots, chainmail greaves, which you could have in Oblivion. You could wear pants, and their guard tabard, and then like a chainmail helmet or a guard. I think it was chainmail. Could have been different, but everyone had it. But Skingrad had steel plate gauntlets, steel plate greaves, steel plate boots, and a steel plate helmet, and their Skingrad tabard armor. They always had better gear. It felt like a very rich, established city, like it was very wealthy, very prosperous, and they still feel that way in this game. They still feel like they've got better armor because their face is covered. I'm not too sure any of the other guards in Beyond Skyrim, as far as I've seen, actually have fully protected gear like the Skingrad wants to. Like these guys, it looks like you don't want to fuck around with them because, you know, it's going to hurt. So these guys still look quite, you know, quite good like they did in Oblivion. I love that. Like, man, I'm a single dude. I don't have any kids or a wife, anything like that. And my greatest dream, it sounds very pathetic, but it's to play Beyond Skyrim. So again, that's what I want to stay alive for. To travel around Cyrodiil, to not have to worry about, you know, not have to worry about staying in Skyrim forever. Because I've been in Skyrim for 13 years. This is the modding freedoms we've all got to create our very own world. And anyone that's been around for just as long or a long time understands the freedom you can have to create your very own world. And these guys are creating their very own world. And it's a world that we'll be able to go to one day where we can all walk around it. But you know, I just imagine myself, and this is just like a little crazy little imagination, to where I walk through the gates into Cyrodiil, and I never step foot back into Skyrim for that entire save. Like, I've completed the Dragon Quest, I've completed all the crap in Skyrim, and I leave to go south into Cyrodiil, and I never step foot back into Skyrim unless I'm sent there by a quest. And I spend another, like, I'm like 40 years old, still a single miserable prick, and I'm in Cyrodiil just running around, and like, you know, I've brought and I've played Elder Scrolls 6 if it's come out by then, and but I'm still running around in Skyrim, which is the absolute modding freedom we've had. Sorry, not Skyrim, fucking hell, the game. But I'm running around in Cyrodiil and still haven't like stepped foot in Skyrim. It's crazy to think that one day this will be out and we won't need to go back to Skyrim ever again. Like, Skyrim will become such a eyesore to us that we'll just travel around Tamriel but never go back to Skyrim. Unless they make a mod called In Skyrim or Beyond Skyrim, where they like update and give new voices, and like, that'd be nuts, man. Imagine if they completed all the projects they wanted. Like, I don't know if they'll complete them all, but hopefully they do. But and they've gone, all right, let's go back into Skyrim, let's revoice the cast, let's make Skyrim aware of the choices that's happened in Cyrodiil and the other provinces. You know, so now that, you know, your old Bolgriff will now mention that you've saved, you know, Cyrodiil or chosen an emperor, because again, most of these places will no doubt have that sort of stuff in it, to where you're going to see that. You know, like, you might go to Hammerfell and they might reference a new emperor being picked, but you go back to Skyrim and that will never happen because it's the original game. And it's just crazy to think, man, that one day they might even return to Skyrim and enhance it and add all this new sort of architecture and items to people's houses that, you know, might, like, you might go into an Imperial's home and you might find things from Cyrodiil, like a Cyrodiil chair or some stuff like that, and you might hear people referencing new stories. You know, like the Count of Solitude might talk about Count of Solitude, Thane of Solitude, like Erica might reference a new emperor being depicted, or this and that, and that'd be nuts, because that would probably complete the Beyond Skyrim by actually going back to Skyrim when they're all done and editing it to a point to where it connects all their Beyond Skyrim projects with Skyrim. But it's crazy to think what they've done, man, and absolute kudos to them, because this is some crazy stuff. Like, I 100% believe this will come out, because there's no way you put this much effort into a mod project like this and then cancel it or shut it down. And they've gone through quite a few leads, you know, either the good way or the bad way, where they've been removed or they've had to replace them with someone else because of either life commitments or this or that. But they've done an awesome job, and there's just like, it's crazy to think. Like, look at the progress they've done so far. They're mostly completed. You know, they've completed NPCs, and they're just showing off graphs. And this video came out 4 months ago. They probably would have edited this like 4 or 5 months ago. 4 or 5 months ago. Fucking Jesus Christ. 5 or 6 months ago. You know, so obviously more was done by the time this video came out. But it's nice to see what they've done. You know, and they've always said that the very last project they're going to do is the Imperial City, right? So this place I actually want to talk about real quick. The Imperial City, and they've got a YouTube channel where they like do like their streams, and quite a few of their streams lately have been doing like Imperial City like 3D assets. So the first thing to get done is like their 3D assets for Imperial City, and then they can move into the Imperial City when they've done the surrounding of Cyrodiil. That's probably when they'll probably might drop a trailer. Like they might drop a trailer then for like 2 years ahead or a year ahead, like Sky Oblivion did, because they released their trailer in 2023. I think it was December, and they've said it's going to come out in 2025, which will most likely be around December. So they might do a similar thing when they know they're like in the very last city, the very last hold. You'll get to a point to where, you know, it's going to become, we're going to have 2 years to wait, and that would be absolutely awesome. I still believe this project is another 2 to 3 plus years off, easy, because I don't know. I could be wrong. They could just release a trailer when they're like 3 or 4 months ready to release it, when they've tested the absolute shit of it, and that I could be wrong. But they might. I believe when the Imperial City 3D assets are done and they're closing on the story and the questing, I believe they'll release a trailer for a year or 2 ahead to kind of get the story done within half a year, and then bug test the living shit for a couple of years or a year at least, and then release it on the Nexus. But this right here is Kvatch. Now, of course, I'm an Oblivion character. Only time I've ever seen this place alive was in Elder Scrolls Online, and they had a really cool faction in that game called the Order of the Hour. It was like a Templar unit of like Imperials that served Agatosh, and they've reintroduced them into this Skingrad. So that priest right there brandishing his dagger, I think he's a priest of Akatosh, and he's telling these guys like mages to fuck off because the mages aren't welcomed. Magic isn't welcomed in Kvatch. It's completely not welcomed. If you're a mage, you're a dog. So there's no Mages Guild, there's no Synod, and there's no College of Whispers here, unless it's out in the woods or like just the border of a different county. But yeah, the church or the cathedral of Akatosh does not like magic at all. Guy's going to say that Kvatch is pretty much almost completed. Probably by now, at the time of this video, is pretty much in QA testing. You know, they're probably testing it right now. You know, to make sure it's finally complete. And that's crazy to think that they've actually done Kvatch. Like, they've almost got to a point to where it'd be like Bruma.
And one of the goals of this catch-up year, to finalise all of Kvatch's interiors, is nearing completion, with 27 of 34 of the city's interiors finalised.
So they've completed all the interiors. They've all gone through they've all been completed. They've all gone through a first pass, but only 27 of them at this time were finalised, and that could be finalised by now. Since it was like 4 or 5 months ago, and plus they probably edited this like 6 months ago, so very well it could be done.
As for the other departments, almost all have achieved a finalised state here in Kvatch, with writing, editing, exteriors, art, implementation and quality assurance having finalised the majority of their work in the city.
Scenes are like sorry. A scene is pretty much, for example, you go into the Riverwood Inn and Delphine will walk up to, I forgot his name, but she'll ask, have you done this yet? And he goes, nope. They're pretty much where NPCs will meet up and have they'll create a scene, pretty much. But, again, having 50 of them is nuts.
Besides interiors and questline content, work on a number of city scenes is all that really remains in the city, with a number of these requiring only a final editing, implementation and quality assurance.
Completed, holy crap. So 7 quests is probably pardon me, the main city quest, because I think as far as we know, like I said, Kvatch's questline is probably based on magic, or either accepting magic or rooting it out with the Order of the Hour. Sure. which I think is their name, because they've taken some inspiration from Elder Scrolls Online, of course, especially with a lot of their other places. But this is one of those quest lines that I really like the idea that the Order of the Hour is returned from Elder Scrolls Online, now that Kvatch has been completely rebuilt for a couple hundred years.
Or QA pass. This means that Kvatch is fully complete in terms of its content, having its major city arc, side quests, miscellaneous quests, characters, and flavor text all written, edited, and implemented and tested by QA. Though, one thing that should be stated is that QA work is always ongoing throughout Cyrodiil in some form. But by complete, we mean that an area has received proper bug fixing on all aspects and that everything works properly. QA is always busy working to make sure everything makes sense, is consistent, and most importantly, fun to experience. We're excited to see the city finally reach a fully complete state.
Look at that dude. Like, all I see is mutilated heads, an ashy environment, destroyed. Like, it's unrecognizable. It's recognizable that, like, I remember having to go into the church and then go out of the church, and from like that door that you can see is go south from there and then go east and then go around the city, because like where the tower is right now had collapsed on the sort of pass right there, and you couldn't get, I'm not sure you get through, but it was a nightmare, you know, when you first played Oblivion, because the city was just destroyed, full of mutilated bodies. It was a nasty place, but now it looks so vibrant, so beautiful. It looks gorgeous, and like it looks similar to the way it looked, obviously not a smoking, smouldering piece of shit that's been destroyed by the Daedra. It looks nice. Like, man, I've got to give it to them. That's nice. I want to say also to Bethesda that Oblivion was their masterpiece, because even though Oblivion was destroyed, when you went inside the keep, or sorry, the castle, you find the Count's body dead. He had a unique bed. A bed that he owned, so you couldn't sleep on it. But it was a Kvatch bed. It had the Kvatch noble symbol on it and everything. They wasted an entire 3D development team to make a bed that you couldn't sleep on, a bed that you couldn't use, just to make the place look more aesthetic. But yet they didn't do it for Skyrim, which kind of pisses me off, but Oblivion was their prime game, I will dare say.
Very soon. Kvatch County as a whole isn't quite as far along as the city itself. All of our locations are planned and some are fully implemented, but others still need a bit more rounds through our workflow process to be considered complete. This will likely be done soon as part of our catch-up phase wrapping up. The exteriors team faces a major challenge when designing Cyrodiil. Nearly every region is both a unique biome in itself, while also being a transition region to an entirely different unique biome. This is doubly so for Kvatch, which borders 3 other counties of wildly different region design, as well as borders 2 other provinces.
I remember this. I don't remember who, but it might have been one of the Fallout. I think he might still be the lead of the Fallout 4 Capital Wasteland team that's remaking Fallout 3 and the Fallout 4 engine. They were making the game, it got canned, and they're remaking the game again. But I remember watching his stream. There was like a little tower in the middle, and it had an Imperial flag, and like an old Imperial flag flying off the top of it. I think that's him who level designed this. I think the guy that actually like runs the Fallout 4 Capital Wasteland team. I'm pretty sure he's the one that actually created this little town here. But I love the flag. It's actually available. You can actually find it in Beyond Skyrim Bruma pre-release. And I love this because I put it in the Imperial Tomb where my character finds his sword and shield from like an ESO character. I love that, like, dead set, man. The old Imperial flag, the second era, the second Empire flag was 10 times better than whatever the fuck Talos made. Because that was a proper flag. The new one, shithouse. That one, the old one looks beautiful. Like, I just love the design of it. Now, as you can see, the exterior cell is pretty much the very people that build the map. They are level designers, right? So they had 691 cells to complete. So this is across the county, right? They've done their first pass in it. They've done 209 as finalized, right? So I think finalized means completed for them, the section, but nav meshed. As you can see, not even a quarter of it yet has been nav mesh, and that is an incredible job, because nav mesh is pure evil. It's pure evil, man. I'd rather buy a murder or a beer than do nav mesh. It's you have to connect all these little fucking red triangles up across the entire world to make sure NPCs, creatures, and whatever kind of AI can navigate through it. If there's no nav mesh there, they won't walk, and they probably won't attack, because unless they get close to them, but they can't see you. Nav mesh is the AI's eyes, and without that, no one's moving a single inch, and that is a tremendous task, and oh my god, I feel sorry for any motherfucker that's got to do that. It's gross. Exterior ones, that can sometimes be a bit of fun, but exterior, ugh, yuck.
Similarly, implementation, editing, QA, and even writing to a degree ran into some barriers when working towards the completion of this county. With its neighbouring regions reaching a more complete state, we've used this catch-up time to focus on bringing it all together here in Kvatch County. As you can see, a large portion of the region is now complete, with settlements populated by people going about their daily lives, just waiting on the helping hand of an adventurer to take on a quest or two. But there is still a bit more work to make it feature complete. Unfortunately, the dungeons in Kvatch County are some of the least complete, with only 4 of the 15 completely done. If you are a dungeon designer or interested in learning at the Arcane University, we would love another helping hand in bringing up this count.
Now, like you said, if you like, building dungeons, building homes, doing the interior stuff, jump in. Especially if you've got mods on the Nexus, and you've shown that you can do some decent work, you'll be on the team. You'll be helping them build dungeons for this mod, and it'll be out earlier. I wish I had the knack for building dungeons. My expertise in the creation kit is very limited when it comes to just characters, designing unique NPCs and stuff like that. But if you want a challenge, you want a bit of fun, and you like building tombs and ancient ruins and homes and shit like that, jump in there, man, because every person helps, cuts off a week or a month. I wouldn't say a month, but it'd cut off some considerable amount of time until this mod releases. Every person that joins helps this mod get out a little bit quicker.
Finalizing the area's dungeons will greatly aid in our mission to finalize Colovia as a whole. Well, I hope you better understand the state of the county which followed Bruma's completion, because we are just getting started. Now we look to greener pastures, to a land of rolling hills and red maples, to Skingrad. Skingrad was...
Here's I was wrong. Those two cities in that little part left section probably would have been Chorrol and Kvatch. So now, I'm so confused. Now we're in Skingrad. This is probably one of the most beautiful cities ever, and one of the first places that I think I've wandered to when I first played Elder Scrolls Oblivion. This is one of the first cities I actually ended up wandering to, and it was such a beautiful place because I remember the stables. I'd steal a horse, take it to some abandoned home I found just north of Kvatch, which had no one living there. Which eventually found out months later that it was a dead dude that used to own it. It was killed by an astronaut. And I used to put the horse there because it never returned back home until it respawned. So Kvatch is definitely a place of memories when it comes to sort of first in Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
Was our next Colovian city to see real progress after Kvatch, but only after we spent years building up the foundations of Cyrodiil as a whole. This included work on Bravil County. Skingrad was one of the first cities to get work done under a semi-functioning project workflow, one which formed the basis for the one we use now. As such, Skingrad was the first city to reach a state of completion which approached something that...
I remember under that bridge, man. It doesn't matter what video, if it's Sky Oblivion, Beyond Skyrim, I'm always going to reference what happens under that bridge. I was just minding my business, just another day adventuring that you'd simply forget while, living your life. Just another travel under the Skingrad Bridge, and I was approached by a dark elven woman that asked me what the fine was for necrophilia. Yeah, I know. Now, necromancy, necro means dead, and mancy means resuscitate or something like that. I thought, because I was 13 at the time, or 14, I didn't really think about necrophilia. I guess, again, that's some weird suspect shit. But then, like, when she walked away, I was like, she didn't say necromancy. She said philia. Isn't that where you, like, root dead people? And I was like, hold the fuck on. So then I went and did a Google search, and I was disgusted. I turned around and killed her. That's the fine, you filthy bitch. Disgusting. But it was just one of those memories that I'll never forget. Like the chicken Anvil, man. Oh, that cracked me up all the time. I just could never help myself. The funniest thing ever. But if we get to Anvil, I'll definitely mention that. And I'll probably mention it in a couple Beyond Skyrim videos. And especially quite a few, I'll be doing that in Sky Oblivion for sure.
That felt finalized post-Bruma. It has set a standard that other cities have followed since. This means that Skingrad has seen a great deal of progress across the board. Here, all the interior assets were already finalized early on. This allowed most of the interiors in the city, besides a few quest-related ones, to be completed in a short time. Skingrad's exterior level design is also finished apart from a few final tweaks, mostly related to some additional 3D asset work still needed. On the implementation side of things, Skingrad also shines, with all NPCs and city scenes fully completed by all teams. One of the major focuses during this catch-up period is finishing the remaining quests in Skingrad, which still requires some writing revision before editing and implementation can work their magic. The current focus is on the city arc quests. For the viewers who aren't already aware, every city on the Cyrodiil project is going to have its own story arc for you to experience, similar to Captain Adius's arc in Bruma.
So, if you've played Bruma, you understand that like it starts with you trying to investigate who stole. I think it might be. I don't know. You got to go help some captain. Now, I never finished it, but I heard that some bad shit happens. Right, the captain that you're trying to help gets run through pretty bad when it comes to fate. And people have said the questing in Bruma alone was better than Skyrim could ever have achieved. You know, and again, I think they're going to rewrite some of the story. I think somewhere they've said they've considered somewhat adding some more story to that due to the whole plea to save a certain person, whatever. But it was an amazing quest that I didn't get to finish because I don't want it spoiled, even though it's not going to hurt me. I just want to enjoy it and be blown away when the full release comes out, if I'm not dead by then. But every city's going to have that. Skingrad is going to be about vampires, I'm pretty sure. Kvatch is going to be about magic by the looks of it. Breville's going to be about gangs and corruption, and probably they're helping the gangs, they're helping the count. I don't know the full list of them. I don't know what Anvil's about, but again, those are probably the ones I know. They've done a couple trailers on these actually beforehand. You can find them on their channel on YouTube. They show off kind of like teasers to their city quests. So you didn't have that in Skyrim. Not every city had the same magic quests, like when it comes to it. Like mainly it was a miss quest. Or a quest, like a main quest related thing, like for Bulgriff that was finding the Dragonstone. For the Jarl of Winterhold, is finding some miscellaneous crown in some random location. For the Jarl of Markarth, Imperial one at least, it's getting his father's shield back from the Forsworn or something like that. They're miscellaneous, just one and done, boring sort of quest to, for the city. Actually, no. Markarth had the Forsworn thing, didn't it? Yeah, it did. It had a city quest. I'm not too sure if anyone else did. Of course, College of Winterhold was kind of the city quest for Winterhold. I'm pretty sure, no, they did actually, didn't they? What was the Whiterun's main one then? It might have been the Companions, where like the guild quest for certain main quests for the cities. Because I remember Windhelm's main quest is kind of discovering the murderer. Markarth, Solitude. What's Solitude's one? Is there a Solitude one? I think there is. It might be Gura's quest though. I'm not too sure there's actually like a main Solitude quest you got to undertake. But whatever. Every city, every one of these counties is going to have their own main quest. And as you can see with both Kvatch and Anvil, they're going to be 7 quests. So that each one of these chapters is going to be 7 quests long to complete the city chapter.
Once writing revisions are complete, our editing team will review and lock the second and third quest in the Skingrad story arc. After this, our implementation team will be able to move forward in getting the rest of the city arc in-game, as the first quest has been just recently implemented. For some further context, once a quest is implemented, it goes to our QA team for playtesting and bug fixing. Not if, But when something is found to be wrong with a piece of content, QA brings it back to editing for additional dialogue, objectives, or other fixes. This collaboration between QA and editing has been very productive and beneficial to the overall polish of the content on our project. The level design in County Skingrad.
That's good, because it means, you know, like, obviously this mod's going to have bugs when it comes out, and Bruma did too. Certain places we went too close to something and you crashed, or things didn't activate. And those are still going to happen, but, you know, they're working, these two teams are working hand in hand with each other. So it's going to be a lot less shit going wrong with it, hopefully, or I dare say will be a lot less shit going wrong with it than we had in Skyrim's release with Bethesda.
Is some of the most beautiful in all the land. The red maples especially bring a colour to the region you'll find nowhere else. This region has some of the most complete level design in all of Colovia, with 490 of the 520 free cells finalised already. As far as the narrative and implementation side of things goes, County Skingrad is one of the furthest along, with most locations already in-game and actively being tested.
You could even see that with the last video I released on the Beyond Skyrim rant. Everywhere else kind of had no NPCs unless it was guards. But when we went to Skingrad, it had NPCs in their daily lives walking around. So if they've gotten to a point where they've even got NPCs walking around, they're pretty far ahead. Nowhere near complete, but it's still pretty far ahead. If you're able to put NPCs that can walk around the city and do daily lives, they are, you know, it's quite a long way ahead.
Dungeons here have seen decent progress, with many being partially complete, and just needing a finalization pass to make them truly memorable. Skingrad County can be counted as complete as the city of Kvatch, and therefore, it won't be long before it too is at a fully finalized state. We're excited to introduce you to the people of this land, who are as colourful as the region they inhabit. However, not even the beauty of this region can compare against the sheer majesty of our next stop. Chorrol. The city of Chorrol is a homely city of relative peace and prosperity in the darkness of the late 4th era, but one that has a mysticism unlike anywhere else in Colovia. The progress on the city in the past year has been immense. Chorrol interior assets and level design have been complete for some time. This allowed the city's implementation to progress incredibly quickly once it was ready.
Very nice.
Writing is effectively 100% complete. Editing is right behind that number. Most of the quests in the city are in...
It must be like a quest NPC, because they got 105, but 104 are done. So it must be like a quest NPC they have not yet put in.
game, and the last few are actively being implemented. QA will soon be picking it all apart with a fine-tooth comb. Like Skingrad, Chorrol also laid the foundations for the team's current workflow, building off the work done on Skingrad prior. The editing, QA, and audio teams all found new footing here in this mountain city, and have been chugging along ever since. As cities go, Chorrol is right beside Skingrad in terms of overall progress, as we have shifted to working on them in parallel now that both have reached an advanced state of completion.
In Elder Scrolls Online, when I went into Cyrodiil in the PvP area, one of the first cities I went to venture to was Chorrol, and it was like torn in half. Like there was a lava bed underneath it and this, and it was like cracked in half. There's no oak tree, but it's a really memorable place because it's one of the first cities you should come across if you follow the main quest, because you got to go to Wayland Priority, drop off the Amulet of Kings in Oblivion, and right beside that is Chorrol, which is a very unique place. I remember a woman here called she was a Nord, called something God Hater. I think she was actually a Mythic Dawn agent, but it was also like a quest of like two twin brothers that didn't know each other. And like, I don't know, I don't remember it all, but very memorable place all the same. I remember their shields were blue with the oak on it. It was kind of like the whole Gondor shield with the tree in the middle of it.
Due to the isolated nature of the city, the stories shared in the city of Chorrol may not be what you expect. Surprises and mystique lie around every corner of this city. Currently, these are the focus of the work being done here, as the last few side quests and the city arc get edited and implemented. Finishing Chorrol will come just as swiftly as Skingrad and Kvatch at our current rate. County Chorrol, on the other hand, is one of the least complete regions in all of Colovia. This is not because any large swaths of land are missing. No. In fact, most of the level design here has been laid down, as you've no doubt seen in the Chorrol walkabout video. Rather, this is because there are a few key locations which can't be finished yet, due to either being directly connected to one of our quest lines, or due to waiting on some 3D asset finalization. Besides these areas, Chorrol County has been coming along quite well, with the Great Forest already feeling like the living behemoth it is. Dungeons are even around a 16 out of 30 completion rate. Inside live more than their fair share of questionable characters, to say the least. But, to shine a light on the elephant on the snow-capped hills, there lies one location which is currently preventing the completion of Chorrol County. The holy site of Sancre Tor. Specifically, the temple town of Sancre Tor is still in its first stages of level design. Although writing has been almost completed and has entered the editing stage, implementation cannot start until we complete the concept art, 3D assets, and level design.
So pretty much, it hasn't been made yet. They need to first build it before they can do anything else, because before you can even, like, you know, you've got a story in your head when you're creating it, but if you've got no land to put it on, and you've got, like, even before these places can be made, they first need to create the landmass, which is level design, and then once level design is done, they need to concept the assets they need for the buildings and the architecture, and then the 3D team needs to come in and do all that stuff, and then they can actually implement it into the game once the 3D assets are there, and once those are in there, they can start implementing the story and start doing the NPCs. There's a long list of shit that needs to be done first before you get to certain things, and by the looks of it, they haven't got the 3D assets they need to actually build Sancre Tor. So I'm pretty sure Sancre Tor in Oblivion was the location you had to find Tiber Septim's Imperial armor at for like a certain ritual, which was just a ruin. But in this and Beyond Skyrim, they're planning on making it like a holy town, like a small, like, little settlement of like probably like 12 or 15 people that are probably all priests and stuff like that. So keep your children away from the place.
The concept art department often gets less attention than it deserves. Our artists on the team work wonders. But because Oblivion laid the foundation of much of Cyrodiil, their work is sometimes underappreciated publicly. As these concepts finalize...
That's nice, look at that. It's got the old Imperial flags. Man, I love those flags. I don't give a shit. That sort of beautiful Imperial red with a gold diamond, man. Like, it just makes a man's thighs shiver, you know. But it is beautiful concept art. It kind of reminds a bit like, the top wooden parts kind of remind me of like the blades of the Japanese sort of like pointed towers, but it looks beautiful.
We will be handing off the claims to 3D.
That right there is probably placeholder, right? So what you're seeing there is probably like the Bruma walls and Bruma towers, but they're using them as placeholders to kind of what they'll replace them with later, pretty much. They're building the foundation to what they want the place to look like before they get the assets in there and replace them with Sancre Tor custom assets.
Architecture artists to bring the settlement to life for the other departments. If you are such an artist and wish to see Colovia reach a fully complete state, you may wish to apply to Cyrodiil and help us reach that goal ever sooner. Anvil.
Oh, yeah,
Anvil
baby.
is the next county in our pipeline.
Dude, this place is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. It was one of the cities that actually did pretty well in Elder Scrolls Online. It wasn't part of the Civil War area. It was its own little map with the Dark Brotherhood quest line, but it looked very similar to the Oblivion one, which is why I appreciate it, because Riften looks nothing like Riften in Skyrim from the Second Era version in ESO, and neither did Windhelm really. But this place is a beautiful place. It kind of reminds you of old Roman architecture. There's sort of white marble buildings and the sort of Italian backset. It looks very beautiful. It kind of reminds, you know, if you look at it, you see a bit of Rome in there.
And is the last major location besides Sancre Tor that is needed to complete Colovia. For the city itself, all the interiors except some work on the castle have had their assets completed. The interiors team is currently in the process of cluttering them in-game.
Now, the last video I did, they showed off Anvil, but there were no NPCs. So I think, by the looks of it, like when if they zoom around, there's still no NPCs. It probably means this is one of their least completed cities. Like, it looks visually done, but there's still obviously a lot of work to do. You know, once all that sort of stuff's in, they probably haven't nab meshed it. So it still could be in a state to where they haven't got through to getting deep into doing Anvil until a certain point. Because like I said, this place could be a major point for the main quest, and they might not get down to it until other things line up.
Game. Anvil exteriors and interiors have some notable differences from what was seen in Oblivion, and we are excited to show these off in the upcoming Anvil City trailer.
He says that, but it still looks very similar. But the last run through, when I did the last rant video, it looked like there were a lot more buildings, like, together. It looked, you know, like there was more buildings taking up the empty spaces, and I liked that because it makes the place feel bigger, more fulfilled, like there's more people in it. But again, it's been a long time since I played Oblivion. I've only got like an image in my head of what it looked like, and I really should download it again and mod it to the absolute shithouse. And yeah, it still looks beautiful regardless.
Stay tuned for that in 2024. The city is currently undergoing the last bits of work needed from the writing team required for it to enter the editing and implementation process.
Yeah, still haven't gotten the NPCs yet, so I don't even know if they've made them. But as you can see from the last rant and the current video they've done, there's been no NPCs yet, so probably Nabmesh hasn't been done or whatever, but it's probably one of their final cities they'll get to, that they'll finish off when it comes to content-wise.
In fact,
that isn't Imperial... Wait, my god.
We anticipate...
Well, it was taking forever, so I thought... So, obviously, we can see 116 of them have been written, maybe not implemented, and again, we're to the point where we've got 117. So, it looks like that one person that we're missing is a quest-related NPC for maybe the main quest, but we'll see how many they've actually finalised. Probably none, but again, they've written 116 of them.
Needing some more editors to help in our review of Anvil. If you have editing experience, a keen attention to detail, or a willingness to learn, you can apply through the form on our website.
Surprised that scenes must be more than just people meeting up and doing stuff though. So if they've done the scenes, they haven't put NPCs in yet. I don't know what the hell that's all for.
If you're a fit for the project, we will reach out to you once our editing push for Anvil has begun. As you can see, only a handful of these claims remain, and soon the stories of this coastal wonder will be fully realized. We mentioned before during the Skingrad segment that all cities have a story arc for you to complete. Anvil, however, is the first city in our development which ties its story arc into one of our main quest lines, the seat of Sundered Kings.
Now that's the political one where you choose the Emperor, Cyrodiil. I'm pretty sure, I think they said that in the rant, when I was on the rant for Beyond Skyrim. I think there might be like Leowin or something like that. Also might have a city that involves itself in the main quest line, but again, that's to be expected because these are counties of Cyrodiil. They're obviously involved with the political quest line, who becomes Emperor.
We are all very excited to reach this important milestone, as the writing of the final quest in the story arc nears completion, which means that writing on the seat of Sundered King's questline will have begun, at least in part. Anvil County is in a decent state, with much of the level design complete.
I think that right there, it keeps giving me memories of Knights of the Nine. I think this is a place you go to fight Umaril. Now, again, I haven't played the game in a very, very long time, and I only had 4 years of it, I think. But I believe this is a place. Correct me if I'm wrong, but for somehow this the scene always reminds me of the Knights of the Nine final quest to kill Umaril.
And preparatory work on the...
And if I can remember that from a game that came out years ago, and they've imaged that on this, they've done a tremendous amount of fucking work. If I can see that memory in an entirely different game.
Settlements in the region mostly done as well. The Gold Coast truly is one of our most scenic regions. As you have seen, the warm weather is a pleasant reminder that we are far from the frigid mountains of Skyrim. There is a very comfortable amount of finalization already done on the exteriors in this region, with the rest well underway. The people of the Gold Coast live in arm's reach of the Abyssinian Sea, which is both a blessing and a curse.
Dominion.
We currently have one of the settlements fully implemented, with the writing on these areas otherwise complete and awaiting the upcoming editing and implementation pass. Some work has already been done on the dungeon side of things, with 7 out of 19 dungeons already finished. This county is one of our most anticipated, being essentially ready and waiting to become fully realized, and internally, we have been getting excited to continue work on it very soon.
Look how beautiful that is, eh? It just feels warm, the sun bouncing off the rocks. It's just like, yeah, you've got those similar sort of houses that Skyrim has, like the sort of stone little houses and the kind of straw roofs and stuff like that, but it feels good. Because this kind of place, off the sea you've got, I think, the Somersets, but then it also borders with Hammerfell, and you can see that and feel that, and it feels so warm because, again, you've got no beaches in Skyrim, unless, of course, it's like grey rock or the typical...
In addition, there are 2 major settlements in Anvil County, which are in a more complete state. Such is much farther along in our workflow, as you have most likely seen in our last Creation ModCon showcase.
I like to think, I've talked about my game and my stories that I make. I like to think that I come back here as Centaurus, when he left here when he was 17 to go into Skyrim, and there's some memories, because Sigund is his mirrored version, it's the Stormcloak, and she gets a lot of story because she's in Skyrim, her homeland, but Centaurus hasn't been there since he was 17, he's 28, it's like 11 years, going on around 12 or 13 years since he stepped foot back in his home, and this is kind of where he was raised. Could be the Imperial City docks, like where the Imperial encampments are, but he spent a lot of his childhood in the military, or in the Imperial Legion, so it'd be good to come back here and breathe some life into his backstory, because he doesn't get any of that since he's an Imperial in Skyrim, he's in a foreign land. So it's going to be awesome to come back to these projects later on, and be able to fulfill some of this, even Cecilia's storyline. She goes back to she's my vampire character. She'll rock up in my Skyblivion stories, but she, her home was Kvatch, that was destroyed, but she was there, and that's how she met the Holy Crusader or the Champion of Cyrodiil, whatever the hell you want to call them. Too many names. And going back there and seeing the place rebuilt 200 years later is going to be nuts. Maybe even finding out that she's got like a great-great-great-great-grandniece or some shit. Maybe a sibling survived or whatever, or I don't know if she has a sibling. That's also like a story of another day. But this is awesome. I love this. This place shares a lot of architecture with even Anvil.
Our editing team is much to thank for our ability to showcase that particular location, as they logged over 56 pages of content for the implementation team to put in game. Included within those pages were 8 locations, 22 NPCs, 26 scenes, and the quest which was showcased.
You see, they did such because they wanted to show off in their ModCon, right? So they pushed through to get that done, because that was their ModCon kind of for 2023. And so they want to complete something. Now, these guys put their heads together. They do some incredible work, like Bruma. In pre-release, they got that out and done, and they all focus on the one thing. And of course, what happens here is that they haven't got a release date. Is that they kind of jump between all different kinds of areas and projects. And that's fine. That's good. Some of these places get blocked off because they need certain quest elements, or because they haven't got the 3D assets. But they're kind of like all over the place when it comes to claims, or people that will work in Anvil for about a couple of weeks and might piss off Taleo and Blackwoods and other things like that. Plus, members of the Cyrodiil team are no doubt also members of other teams in Beyond Skyrim, like Argonia and stuff like that. So again, when they need something out, they put the work in, they get it out. Like they all work together, and it's awesome to see.
This was accomplished all within the span of a month. The such editing push was a massive success, acting as the final milestone in a training journey our editing team set off on at the beginning of the year. The editing team has since shifted their focus back to the quest content of County Chorrol to allow writing to complete for Fort Such. Currently, the fort has reached a 90% or so completion status in writing. Our implementation and QA teams are continuing to work on the fort and its surrounding settlements. This large settlement should be reaching a near complete state, alongside the mainstay cities of Skingrad, Kvatch, and Chorrol soon enough. That concludes our look at the cities of Colovia. All this time and effort spent on completing Colovia has culminated in a number of impressive milestones. We have a total of 449 NPCs and 83 quests implemented in all of Colovia combined. There are 161 interiors in the cities of Colovia, of which 106 have been finalized. This doesn't count the numerous settlements outside these areas. Finally, there are a total of 1,759 exterior cells finalized in this region.
That doesn't count Navimesh, which, oh man, I feel sorry for the person that does that. They're going to need to be put on suicide watch, you know, when they're doing this project. it's brutal stuff. It's yuckies.
If all of that data wasn't indicative enough, we as a team are now confident enough in the state of Colovia to say the goal of bringing this half of Cyrodiil to a finalized state is within sight, and we are beyond excited to reach that point. Even though Colovia was our primary focus recently, this doesn't mean that the development process...
Look at that, dude. Look at that. So instead of like, you know, they've cut Colovia into this section and they've got Northern Bruma, they're gonna do the centerpiece and like all of it in the one hit, which is nuts. That is nuts. Of course, Imperial City will remain last because even if you can see in that picture, the bottom right I think might be the Arcane like University. It's pink, so that means the textures aren't done yet. But if they're going at it like this, if they're doing the entire right side of Cyrodiil, then holy shit, lad, that's a lot of work.
Nibenay has been stalled. On the Nibenay side of things, we are looking at a slightly different situation. Bruma, being technically part of Nibenay, can be counted as completed. Beyond Bruma, there has been an immense amount of work on Nibenay, rivaling the work done on many areas of Colovia. However, because it isn't our current focus, we'll be covering these counties only briefly during this dev diary. On the exterior side of things, Nibenay is split into 5 regions: the Heartlands, Nibenay Basin, Valus Mountains, Nibenay Valley, and Blackwood. Once again, heading southeast from the Chorrol, you find the Nibenay Basin. This fairly forested area is full of the rivers that eventually feed into the Niben itself. The region is filled with willows and gum trees that hug the tributaries. The city of Chorrol itself is the last area in this region which requires some work before we can begin finalizing these cells. From the Nibenay Basin, we head west to the Heartlands, home to the Imperial City. This region of grasslands and small woodlands is home to many farms that feed the capital. This area is one of the more complete areas in Nibenay, however, it won't be finalized until the impressive Imperial City is finished. Heading south down the Niben, you come to the Nibenay Valley. With this being the first area we worked on after Bruma released, it will see improvements once we move our focus onto Nibenay to improve the region and bring it to life more. Moving up to...
This is actually one of my favourite parts of the last video that I did. That, you know, that Blackwood, Leyawen, it just... That's not even Leyawen. That it felt... Leyawen's at the very bottom, right there. It just felt so good, like, because you can traverse from Blackmarsh into Cyrodiil. Like, well, there's different world spaces, but you can still traverse into them. And it's just like, the Blackwood went for ages, dude. Like it felt like you're in Blackmarsh all the way until you left Leyawen. It was crazy, man, how big and beautiful it was. It was nuts. It's just this gigantic swampy jungle. It's crazy, man. I love it. I think it borders elsewhere, and then borders Blackmarsh, and then elsewhere. Yeah, crazy, man.
Towards the Morrowind and Orgonia borders, you find the Valus Mountains. This area will split off from the rest of Cyrodiil in the full release, due to engine limitations.
Yeah, so basically what he means by that is that, for some reason, I don't know, it might be like width instead of length. I'm not talking about girthier lads. They can't get this part of Cyrodiil to match up with the rest of Cyrodiil. But for some reason, they've got Valenwood and elsewhere in the same world space. So instead of having to load through a loading screen to get into elsewhere or Valenwood, this is part of the Cyrodiilic world space. So you can just jump, cross the gate and you're there, cross the bridge and you're there. But for some reason, Valus Mountains region area is cut off from. They can't do it because of engine limitations with the creation kit stuff like in Skyrim. So it's kind of weird. But I think I don't know if the city's available, but I think there's gonna be like a big, massive rocky pass that kind of separates the Valus Mountain area, and you travel through it, and it's there. But it'd be the same thing like you fast travel from Bruma to whatever city lays inside this hidden region. If there is a city in this hidden region, you would just load into that world space, because there are world spaces that aren't part of Skyrim. You've got Blackreach, and then you've got the Bloated Grotto. You can't necessarily fast travel on the side of them, but it's possible to do.
The Valus is currently in active development, but will feature a range of biomes and hot springs once complete. Moving south, we find Blackwood. Here we have gone further than Oblivion in creating a swampy feel with cypress trees and mangroves along the coast.
Beautiful.
This region is another one that is mostly complete, with only the border with Elsewhere as the last major landscaping work needing to take place. Bravil. Bravil is the only city in the lower Niben regions that can be counted as partially complete content-wise, as you may have seen in our Bravil City trailer. To start with, Bravil has seen a lot of work already, but because it was the third city we worked on after Bruma, it found itself being worked on in the middle of a transition period in the mod's development. As such, the city has many elements which are only partially complete. This includes writing, editing, implementation, audio, 3D art, exteriors, interiors, and more. We will get back to giving it the love it so dearly needs after Colovia has reached the stage we are happy with. On the content side of things, we have all quests but one side quest and the city arc completed and partly tested in-game. Level design is similarly completed, although we will get back to some things here to polish it off a bit with some improved art assets.
Now, for those that don't know, Bravil is a shithole. It's pretty much a yucky place in Oblivion, and I'm pretty sure it still stands here. But I think in Oblivion, the count was like a whinging, fucking hated his place because it was filthy and blah blah, and it was corrupted and all that sort of stuff. They might be taking a different approach with the look of the trailer. The count on this one looks like a firm person that believes in justice and wants his city to do well. But that's just what I saw. But again, Bravil, especially in this time of the Empire going into some bit of shit with the Great War and its downfall, it's most likely probably gotten worse. And I think there's like 3 or 2 gangs that like run the city.
So you can see Bravil in all its glorious mud and rot. Bravil County is in a similar state as the city itself, with some exterior cells still being completed or fixed, but many of the towns and dungeons are at least in the first pass state. Finishing this region should go quickly after Colovia, so we can move on to the 3 other regions of the Niben that need the most love. One of these regions lies in the Valus Mountains, with the minor city of Mir Korup at the center of it all. Mir Korup is a city that lies broken in the heart of the Valus Mountains.
Now, I don't remember this in Oblivion. It might be just like the Sancre Tor. They might be turning into a city, because I remember seeing this in the last video that they're turning an like an old alien city into a settlement where humans will live and stuff, which is pretty bloody cool, because why not? You know, like, you've got necromancers and bandits in most of these alien ruins that aren't fully corrupted, and why not have people actually living there, like a settlement that lives in an already established settlement that wasn't completely and utterly ruined. It looks like it's been knocked around, but it could still have a good living standard, which is, I like it. I think it's pretty cool. It's a good idea.
While we aren't ready to show off this area, we can't wait to reach that stage. We will, however, say that writing has been more or less completed, and the art and level design are in active development. Cheydinhal. Cheydinhal is one of the jewels of the Niben region.
Now, I'm trying to pause this when you stop speaking. I'm doing a horrible job. But this place was run by a unique set of individuals, or a unique guy. I think he had a wife in this one, but this was the only county, I think, in all of Oblivion that had, I could be wrong, but it was the only county that was run by Dark Elves. The counts were Dark Elves, not Imperials. I'm pretty sure even the friggin' Bruma Countess was an Imperial. even though that's the city of the Nords. But I could be wrong. I remember having an Imperial voice. But yeah, it was run by the Dark Elves. And Dark Elves can live for 400 years. And it's unknown, like, they don't want to mess around with other games, right? But in Oblivion, you help a young Dark Elf who's like the Knights of the Thorns. He's the son of the Count. And he goes into a side an Oblivion gate. And he can either survive it or not. So I don't know how they're going to pick that one. Maybe he died later on, so he's kind of, I don't know. But maybe his parents are still alive, because it's 200 years ago. Maybe they're old as fuck. Maybe he's running it. Maybe someone else is running it. But it's very Dark Elf-centered, because the Valus Mountains are the border to Morrowind. So pretty much, you get quite a few Dark Elven travelers coming through and setting up shop, and you'll see that throughout sort of through the last video, but they might show off a bit of the city, and you'll see the Dark Elven lanterns and sort of culture, things like that.
And has had a lot of work done on it already. Asset work for the city is already nearing completion, and most of the writing is already completed. This means editing will be coming to the city in a reasonable time frame, with implementation and QA following shortly after. From a level design perspective, interiors and exteriors are in active development, with both seeing exceptional progress. The county itself is another story. While level design is mostly at a satisfactory first pass stage, the settlements and dungeons here are similar to that of Chorrol County, with some areas being reserved for questline content, or needing other areas to see completion before we can start getting them in-game proper. Leyawiin. Leyawiin is the third main region of Nibenay, which will be handled after Bravil. It is in a similar state as Cheydinhal, and therefore has most of its writing already complete, as well as its art and level design also nearly complete. While there are some final assets needed for the city, they are already getting finalized alongside Cheydinhal assets. The interior kit is nearly complete already, with just a bit more work needed to reach the point.
I think I mentioned this in the last video, because I think I've seen this scene before, but look at that belt, man. Look at the belt buckle. Can't tell if the ears are curved or pointed, but it looks like it looks like an eagle or an alien belt. I don't know. Like, I don't remember this in Oblivion at all, but I don't know. Is that like a Dominion statue or an Elven statue, or I don't know. But it just, that eagle looks like the Dominion sort of like flag symbol.
Where interior level designers can jump on them. The Blackwood region is one of the most unique areas in all of Cyrodiil, and we are happy to say that it is already very far along. Level design and writing have a great deal done, with even some implementation and QA work already done. There are more NPCs in Leyawiin County than in any other. Each settlement is unique, and is meant to help represent the diverse range of beliefs and lifestyles in the Nibenay's culture. We believe we've successfully represented the spirit of Nibenay through these settlements, especially in Leyawiin County. Finally,
this is their last thing, like when they start doing like showcases on the Imperial City, you damn well know it's about a year or two off. You're like, a year or two seems like a long time, but it flies by pretty quick. But yeah, when they get to the Imperial City, man, you know shit's about to happen.
Finally, there is the Heartland region. For now, we'll be remaining tight-lipped on progress here, but we can say that much of the Heartland region outside of the Imperial Isles is already complete, and we are looking forward to storming the Isles themselves. With the regional overview complete, we'd like to share some of the short-term goals we've reached during the past year. As of right now, there are just over 116 total quests in-game. 44 settlements have been fully implemented. We have just implemented our first Daedric quest, and as you've seen, all cities other than the Imperial City have at least their baseline writing complete. The art department has made great strides this past year, and you can see on screen some of our stats. Some of the
unique, ooh, nice. So 40 unique weapons and armor sets. That's nice, because I know Sky Oblivion, all their stuff's going to be 4K. But every weapon and armor that had a unique name or story in Sky Oblivion will be uniquely modelled, unlike most of them were in Oblivion. very much like most of them, or all of them were in Skyrim.
These stats may be deceiving, as those listed as incomplete doesn't imply that they haven't had any work done on them. 3/4 of the incomplete weapon sets are already above a 75% completion rate. 3 of the 5 city interior architecture sets are already above 75% complete, and these count our minor cities like Chorrol and Sancre Tor. 5/6 of the city architecture sets, which are incomplete, are above 75% completion. The art team has also completed all of our generic heavy armor sets.
Look at that. So I use, this mod author is called, the guy that made this is Nordua, and I use this for my Skyrim. It's called the New Legion armor, but it does look different. It does look different to the New Legion armor. Now, I kind of added the heavy greaves to it, but the sort of belt piece looks different. I don't know. It's differently textured, but it does look similar.
The last 2 light armor sets are...
It's actually kind of weird to see that helmet, because I use that as my Imperial Vanguard helmet, and to see it used by common Imperial soldiers hurts my feelings, but it's still cool the ideas there, because again, you're in the Heartland, everything's different, everything, like, you know, like a Nord that's a 10 in Skyrim could be a 3 in Cyrodiil. So it's entirely different world change to like everything kind of what you thought was good in Skyrim is piss poor in Cyrodiil.
Currently having their concepts finalized. Only tweaking and adjustments are needed for all in-game sets. Art has also created numerous environmental assets, which are not easy to quantify. But as you have seen, there is an insane amount of these in-game, with the remaining assets delivered upon request from the...
I really hope we can buy that, man, because at the end of the day, I would just imagine that being Centaurus' final home, like an Imperial villa on the Gold Coast. That shit looks immensely beautiful, like, god damn, like this is like the final home. Like this place looks like the #1 home for Centauros in Cyrodiil, where I'd think the modded home Storm's Watch from Skyrim Labs would be the home of his choice in Skyrim. So it's kind of like a villa in Skyrim.
The exteriors team. If you are a 3D artist interested in any of these areas or have experience in texture creation, we are actively looking for artists experienced in these areas. Moving back to the narrative side of things, we are also proud to announce that we have both the Fighters Guild and the Synod and College of Whispers questlines fully written, with editing and revision to begin next year. Level design has laid the foundations for the entirety of Cyrodiil to build off of, and many dungeons have been completed. However, while this progress may sound extensive, we still have much work to do. The majority of dungeons need to be completed for the dark depths of Cyrodiil to finally see completion. The future is bright for Cyrodiil, even in the dark days of the 4th era. Our workflow is the train that carries us, and our destination is in sight. The future holds many exciting events. In the distance, we can see a tower of white gold, with the full might of our writing team writing for an Imperial Isle that has assets in a fully completed state. You can see these assets in active development in our VOD channel. And right beside the work on the Isles is the writing of our main quest lines, the Seat of Sundered Kings and Knights of the Nine.
There you go, that's what it's called, Knights of the Nine. Simple as that. I'm excited for that one because I can probably make a separate character out of it, like I said earlier in the video. But is it going to be like, I don't know, I'm intrigued by the idea, is it going to be the Knights of the Nine? Or are you able to, are you able to rebuild the Knights of the Nine and have it become like a secretive organisation like the Blades, so you don't get arrested and killed for breaking the Talos Law? Or do you do you remake the Order, but make it legal by calling it the Knights of the Eight? And discovering the lore of what happened to these guys, because I've always thought since the beginning of Skyrim that these guys got wiped out by the Dominion, because religious groups are not the kind of people that go, oh yeah, we'll stop believing in one of our gods. Yeah, especially warrior groups, like religious warriors like Templars and stuff like that. They are not the sort of people to say they'll abandon their gods without dying first. So no doubt it'd be very interesting to find out what happened to the Knights of the Nine, if they remain 200 years after, if they had a Crusader in between, or if they just shared the items of the Crusader amongst their knights, and what happened to them. Like, are we going to find bits and pieces throughout the Thalmor that they gathered from killing their knights, or are some going to be hidden across Cyrodiil? I don't know, but that's a very interesting quest line, probably the one I'm looking forward to the most, because the whole crowning an emperor thing seems very risky, especially for the future of the Elder Scrolls. Like, they could write this awesome, amazing, fucking top-notch story up, and Bethesda's just going to shit all over it with a new story, which completely retcons their story. Of course, they know this. This is the risk of them making an entirely new story set in the future of Skyrim, or the timeline of Skyrim. Bethesda could come through and just make an entirely new thing. They could even fucking come through and have the Dominion win. That we go into the next game, the Dominion have taken over the Empire, and everything we did beyond Skyrim was shit. It didn't happen. But again, that's the risk of making these mods, and these guys know that, and they're doing it all the same, and they're doing an absolutely fucking phenomenal job.
Both of which already have their foundations laid and will begin formal writing next year. Our remaining guild quest lines have moved away from the current focus, but we are hopeful that they will see the light again in the future. We will continue to use AI voices as a placeholder until we are ready to record all proper voice acting once the majority of Cyrodiil is complete to achieve consistency. This will be a major task, as we have already surpassed the amount of voice lines in vanilla Skyrim. Yes, the future is bright indeed. We would love to give you a release date, but we want to be fair with you and not give you any false expectations that we can't live up to. To help make this project a
Yeah, boy, it's good they noticed that, is this right here. Right, this was a thing for ages. They promised Broomer to like summer during
to give you a release date, but we want to be fair with you and not give you any false expectations that we can't live up to.
Yeah, it was like coming out summer 2014, and it never happened. And then everyone's like, "Oh, it's never going to come out. It's going to be gone." And I think 2018 it came out, I think. And yeah, it was just like, there's a meme, man, and that meme is still cooking in their Discord, no doubt. But I've been banned. But it's one of it probably is the biggest Beyond Skyrim meme going. Release date summer 2014. But again, this is still quite a few years off, because all this stuff is made by people that do it for free, do it for love, and again, you can't rush that sort of thing, because these guys, these men and these women, they have lives, they have families and they have jobs, and this is their side hustle, so. Again, it will come out when it comes out, and it will be an absolute phenomenal...
To help make this project a reality, you can spread the word and share our project with others. If you or other people you know are interested, you can learn modding in the Arcane University, a place where experienced modders can help you on your way. We would love to see your applications, as every contribution helps get the project out for all of you out there. During our video, you might have noticed which departments we need most help in, but...
Navigating. If you've got the soul for it, do it. 100%. Yuck. I wouldn't put myself through that sort of torture. That shit. Oh no, I'd need to buy new monitors every week. I have to put my hands through them.
But for clarity, we are looking for animators, 3D artists, texture artists, writers, editors, implementers, sound designers, interior and dungeon designers. We would also love to grow our public relations or PR team to help us better show off all the work we do here. You haven't seen many...
Bro, dead set, sign me up. PR team. I want to run around Cyrodiil and show everyone all the good shit. But I'd be like a kid in a candy store. It probably would be the best thing in the world. But again, not going to happen since I'm banned the Discord. But still, what they're doing is amazing work, and it doesn't matter what I did. And I deserve the second one for sure. The first one was just for funnies. But these guys are doing awesome work, and you can never show them for that.
Any dev diaries, because they take resources away from development. But we still want to show you what we've been up to, and we'd like to show you more. If you're interested in helping us out with video production, send us an application. Having a dedicated team doing this work would help immensely, as that means our developers can focus on what they do best, bringing the Cyrodiil of the 4th era to life. And with that said, we would like to thank everyone for sticking with us until the end. With all of you at our side, our passion will burn strong, and with that fire in our hearts, there may be hope for this empire of the 4th era yet.
Man, makes me a little bit warm inside every time I watch one of these. But honestly, this project is the future of Skyrim. Obviously, hopefully, Elder Scrolls 6 is an awesome, amazing project. But I don't... I'll buy that shit quicker than you could fucking blink. But I don't think it's going to stand nowhere near the test of time that Skyrim has. Possibly because they might get an Elder Scrolls game out quicker than they have Skyrim, which has been going on 13 years and possibly 15 years for the time Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. And all that time, all that bloody time has been contributed to people modding. Just, you know, like Skyrim modding is like porn. If you can think about it, somebody's made it. And definitely those sort of mods too. It's gotten to a point to where Skyrim was yet to seed and has grown into a fully grown tree. And that seed of Elder Scrolls 6 might only just get to a point of infancy by the time people move on from that. And again, Bethesda hasn't had a good luck lately with Fallout 4, Fallout 76, and Starfield. 70, you know, Fallout 4 adding a voice character wasn't a bad thing, but it wasn't a good thing for their games. And then 76 being an online game, getting shit on for that, and having Starfield come out and people hating the shit of that. I enjoyed it, but I'm just me. And again, Elder Scrolls 6 really needs to kick it off. It needs to do something different that Skyrim can't, or it doesn't stand a chance sitting on its own two legs. And these projects beyond Skyrim are the future of what I believe is Elder Scrolls. Because if Elder Scrolls 6 goes bad, man, there's a good chance there won't be another Elder Scrolls after it. A good chance there probably might be a Bethesda after it. But I don't know. I believe Bethesda will definitely stick around. They earn too much money. But I believe the future of Skyrim, or the future of the Elder Scrolls, truly belongs in the hands of the Beyond Skyrim teams. And I'd like to thank them for what they're doing and keeping it alive and doing the work they're doing, man. Because at the end of the day, this is going to be 10 times better than what Skyrim was. It's because it's made by pure passion. And you can't beat that. Skyrim, they definitely put passion and love into it. But at the end of the day, it was made to make money. It was made to release on a certain time under a certain budget. That's the end of the stats. Definitely had passion and love put into it, but at the end of the day, time and budget ran Skyrim. This is very different because it's run completely on passion. Everything that's made here is made with pure and absolute love, and this is why this project will always be better than Skyrim. And that's why I think one day I'm going to walk through Skyrim's border to Cyrodiil, and I won't set foot in Skyrim ever again. Like, it'll be a game where I'm playing Elder Scrolls Skyrim Cyrodiil. I'll just have to call it Elder Scrolls 5 Cyrodiil. And Skyrim's like the backdrop. And who knows, these guys might even go back to Skyrim and like voice over a lot of the characters and add implementation to... Look, I doubt it, because that'd take many years, but the idea of like another modder will come through and just change voice lines and add new characters, or add new voice lines for characters recognizing a new emperor, a new empire, and events from across Tamriel that the player will foretake on. But that's just that's just pretty much dreams, I guess you could say. But anyway, if you've got any skills that these guys are looking for, any, like, you know, jump up and join. If you want to help out, there's Arcane University, which will... These guys will help you, and like, you don't have to join up to be forced to join Beyond Skyrim. You could use it as a kickstart to learning how to mod, and you know, you might eventually learn a set of skills that, you know, might really do good in one of these projects. And again, that will cut down the time that this will take to get out, because it could be 2 or 3 years away, 4 or 5 years away. It all depends on how many people jump in and help out. And the more people that jump in, the quicker it comes out. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. And if you're on the Beyond Skyrim team, thanks Legends for what you're doing, because honestly, this is a work of absolute art, and it's my Elder Scrolls dream to take my characters and make new ones in the Elder Scrolls Beyond Skyrim, Cyrodiil, and other provinces. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed. I'm out of here, and spent 10 years editing this video. Have a good one. Peace out, and look after yourselves.